Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're listening to this. My name is Tom from shtfboard.com, and today I'm bringing you the first episode in a new series we'll be running on this channel called Gardening For and in the Apocalypse. This is going to be episode 1, and today we are going to be talking about plant selection. Now, before we get too far into it, just a few disclaimers. Gardening is a skill that takes time to learn. It's a lot like golf if you've ever played. You can be fantastic at it, but if you try all your life, you'll find you never perfect it. Nobody does. So don't feel bad if your plants die or they get diseases. It happens to everyone, but the trick is to make those dumb mistakes before it really matters. Because if you kill your plant and end up having to go to Walmart for your vegetables, well, Walmart's still open right now, so that's fine. The goal when gardening for an apocalyptic scenario is self-sufficiency when it comes to vegetables. This includes meeting your caloric needs, as well as maintaining the nutrients in the soil and saving the seeds to replant next season. Because what good is a large crop if you're just going to starve next year? And we're going to focus on plants that typically do well relying simply on rainwater, as obviously water will be a scarce resource. However, it is worth noting that plants can consume water untreated, which would more than likely be harmful to humans. Now, you can't grow every single vegetable with limited space, seeds, and limited nutrients in the soil, so it's very important to select the right vegetables to grow. Bear in mind this will be subjective as your goals and personal situation may be different from mine. But there are 4 main categories here we're going to look at. Calorically dense vegetables such as potatoes, vegetables which fill nutritional needs such as magnesium, which may be rare in an eat what you can find situation, vegetables which add flavor and boost morale such as basil, and my favorite type of vegetable, the invasive species. Keep in mind, some vegetables can be in more than one category, such as one of my personal favorites, which I posted about on SHTF board, New Zealand spinach, which fills those nutritional gaps, adds flavor, and is considered an invasive species in many parts of the world. In addition to these categories, we're going to add one more miniature category, and that's a nitrogen fixer. These plants take nitrogen from the air and put it into the soil, allowing for future vegetables to use that. Pole beans are a fantastic nitrogen fixer, and in fact, they are often planted under corn, as corn consumes a ton of nitrogen and the beans are able to climb the corn stalk. Squash is often added as well to shade out the weeds, in what is commonly referred to as the Three Sisters method of planting. They're all mutually beneficial to each other. If you're just starting out with gardening, I'd recommend sticking to a few crops while you learn the basics. Being able to grow a lot of potatoes, beans, corn, and squash will serve you very well and won't take that much effort. The Native Americans typically relied on those crops and it served them pretty well. Let's get into my recommended plants for a survival apocalypse garden. Number 1 on the list is going to be potatoes, and they're at the top because they require little to no additional water. In fact, it's a common saying that if you don't water potatoes, they'll still produce. But if you water them too much, they'll rot and leave you with nothing. Once you purchase seed potatoes and grow them, you can always regrow those potatoes. Just avoid planting store-bought potatoes as they often develop diseases. Number 2 is pole beans. They're number 2 on the list as they're critical for maintaining the soil's nutrients long term to ensure you're getting a good yield. Nitrogen fixers such as pole beans combined with a decent compost means you'll be able to keep the soil doing well and keep getting those good harvests. We see in commercial agriculture a lot of stuff being sprayed on the plants, and that's because the soil that they put them in is inherently useless other than being a medium for the seed to germinate and the roots to grow. There are very few actual nutrients that vegetables can use, and thus the commercial farmers have to spray them with nutrients. We're not going to have that luxury in the apocalypse, and if you do have it, you won't have it for long. It's also number 2 on the list because canning and storing beans is about as easy as it gets, and trellising the pole beans can be done as simple as finding or cutting down the right stick. Number 3 is going to be summer squash. In my experience, summer squash has a really good ratio of water required to calories. It also contains quite a few helpful nutrients, and it's really easy to grow for a beginner. Number 4, my personal favorite, New Zealand spinach. It fills so many nutrient gaps that other vegetables just don't. It loves the heat, it's very drought tolerant, and it's considered an invasive species in many regions. After it's done growing, it will reseed itself and pop up in August with a huge harvest through the summer. Number 5 is corn. And keep in mind that it needs quite a bit of water, so if you're in a location without a ton of natural rainfall, this may need to be eliminated from your list. However, I personally love corn and have found that I'm able to grow it successfully in some of the toughest soil where other vegetables don't grow well. Combine it with pole beans and squash, as we mentioned earlier, with the Three Sisters method for bigger harvests and healthier soil. I want to point out again that it's very important to do your own research when it comes to selecting which vegetables to grow. As I live in Texas, my list may be different from yours, and a lot of knowledge that I share comes from personal experience. But the main things to look for when you're conducting your own research is how much water they'll need, how many calories they'll produce, what diseases and pests they bring, and whether or not they're companion plants for other vegetables you intend to grow. And if you don't know what that means, companion plants are basically just plants that will grow in the same general area well together. Some plants will compete for resources, some plants will kill each other, some will shade the others out. So you want to make sure that if you plan on utilizing your space to the fullest, which I highly recommend, you're planting vegetables that will effectively get along well with each other. Next, you'll want to find a seed company that you like and save the seeds from your harvests. Look up heirloom seeds. You'll find that over time, these plants will adapt to your specific environment and become hardened to those conditions, improving germination, survival, and production. And never forget that while the internet is a great resource, it might not be around forever. Never rely on being able to pull up a web page for information in a pinch. Write it down or print it out, and you get bonus points if you laminate it to make it waterproof. The Farmer's Almanac is a fantastic resource, and so are your neighbors who have been gardening for longer than some of us have been alive. They'll know your specific region, what grows well there, how to take care of it, and what pests and diseases will come when you plant them. That's about it for this video. It's kind of an overview of selecting the right plants to grow. It's not meant to be an exhaustive list. Like I said, be sure to do your own research. But if you want to get more in depth on this and ask questions, be sure to check out our website, shtfboard.com. We're a new community focused on preparing for SHTF scenarios, the apocalypse, things like that, and just overall being more self-sufficient. Like I said, that's it for this video. Be sure to give it a like and comment, and if you want to see more like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. My name's Tom with shtfboard.com, and have a great day.